What if suddenly there were no males on Earth and there were only women? What would that world look like? How do the women left survive? In this comic, a mysterious plague strikes all mammals with the Y chromosome, simultaneously getting rid of all the males in the world. Planes, cars, buses that are driven by males suddenly lose control and many lives are lost. It's extreme panic as no one knows what's going on, but somehow only one man survives. His name is Yorick, and his male pet monkey survives too. This is the comic book series Y the Last Man, written by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by Pia Guerra. The first issue was released in 2002. Each subsequent issue came out monthly all the way to 55, then bi-monthly, as it reached the end at 60 issues in 2008. This video sets out two questions. Is this comic book worth reading? Is this comic book worth your money? So let's start with the first one. So is this book worth reading? Here's why you should read it, without me giving spoilers. It's a pretty high concept hypothetical of a world where all male mammals on Earth would die suddenly. And the comic book does a decent job at showing what the world would look like. I like the art style and the color palette it used, although I do wish it was a bit more colorful. But I guess the dull colors match well with the end of the world tone of the story. The series is a blend of action, mystery, and character development, maintaining an adult-oriented narrative with humor and tragedy. It's mature and a thoughtful series with violence, swearing, and nudity, so not good for kids. I really enjoyed following the character development of the three main characters. Yorick Brown, who is the last surviving man, known for his strong morals. Agent 355, which is Yorick's bodyguard, assigned by his mother. And Dr. Man, a scientist who may hold the key to understanding the global male extinction. There are themes of survival, gender roles, power struggles, and the mystery of the male extinction. The final volume provides a realistic, if somber, conclusion to the epic journey. I still think about that ending today. It's worth reading if you enjoy post-apocalyptic stories with a unique twist. If you like comic books, I think it's also worth a try. So is this comic book worth reading? If all that applies to you, then yes, it is worth reading. But is it worth buying? The thing with comic books is they're pretty expensive compared to something like a novel. In total, to get this whole series, it'll cost you 235 Australian dollars to buy. If you have that much to spare and you are still interested in reading it all, then yeah, go for it. And you know what? You don't have to buy them all at once. You can stop when it stops being fun for you. But if it were me, knowing how it ends and knowing the price, I probably wouldn't buy it. So here's where I'll get into some spoilers. So if you do care, it's time to click off, time to subscribe, leave a comment, hit the like. I'm doing a chapter by chapter summary and a reaction to a funny story written by Emily Henry. It's my first romance comedy novel, and I think that will be out in 2 weeks' time on the 15th of June. Okay, with the plug out of the way, it's time to get into the minor spoilers of why I think it's not worth buying. So this book never really explains why and how all the males died. There are lots of theories being thrown around, and in the grand scheme of things, it's just not that believable if it were true. One theory is that it was like voodoo magic. One theory, it was like a weapon. One theory, it was like God saying there's no point in males now. Whatever it was, nothing was a really satisfying answer. I like a bit of science fiction where it sounds believable, but if you start involving magic and it just becomes not that plausible and it just gets me out of the story. This book doesn't have the most likable main character. Sure, he can be funny, but he makes a lot of dumb decisions. Oftentimes, he'll endanger himself and almost get killed. Like, man, you're the last man on Earth, and they need you for scientific research. Stop trying to get killed. The bodyguard named Agent 355 is pretty much one of those stoic characters who is pretty badass and can seem to just win every fight. But only fragments of her personality are drip-fed throughout the series, and you only notice it was all leading to something at the end. Also, the ending. Why? Why did you have to do that? I guess it fits with the whole tragedy you see throughout the series. It's just things were leading to something nice and it just had to be pulled away. That ending really tore me. Like, I guess it's a good effect the author did something that I still think about, but man, I don't know. The worst character was probably Alta. She was one of the enemies throughout the series, and her character is so pointless. Like, she just ruins everything for no good reason. And when you do find out the reason she's doing all this, it's just so stupid. So the story also really kind of just drags on. They really milk out the adventure of getting someone from point A to point B. There are so many hurdles that just get thrown in the way. So these are my final thoughts. So despite all the bad stuff I said, I still give this series a 4 stars. It wasn't the best conclusion to the story, but at least there was one. And you know what? It left a lasting image in my head. And when I think about it, it stirs up all these emotions inside. Maybe one of betrayal and a bit of sadness with how things pans out. I think this emotion I'm feeling is something I don't quite feel often. So if you want to experience a unique emotion like this, I think it's worth reading. But only if you can borrow it from someone or are rich enough to buy it all. In comparison to the books I've reviewed on this channel, I think it might be better than Runt and maybe better than The Three Body Problem. Yeah. Alright, that's the end of the video. Bye bye.